All right, hey y'all, what's going on? Welcome to Books That Built Me, the series where every episode is a personal testimony. I'm Antasia Tripper Moore, mindset and style coach, and in this season, particularly speaking, I'm sharing the books that truly changed my life. Okay, inside and out, because yes, that's exactly what they do. They aren't just reviews, even though everybody think that they is, but it's not about that. The reflections. I'll tell you what worked, what didn't, how I used it, and how I rate it for real life. So let's turn pages and get into these corners together. So this book, I'm going to always try to start with the rating of the review. The rate review is most likely going to be something around a good four, necessarily so to speak. In the book in particular, particularly speaking, Home for Christmas, which is a novel, and actually was pretty good. So Home for Christmas is kind of sort of um, about precisely what this title is, which belonging versus becoming for episode 9. And episode 9 is really kind of sort of sensitive. And why is that so? Because when you think about Christmas season and the time that it really takes to kind of sort of get from that wrap around the sun, necessarily, so to speak, and we are finally in that presence of dealing with summertime, how do we kind of sort of really figure out how to leave that behind and go forward? And it's tricky, it's not for everybody. It's just difficult to do and accomplish because the year has kind of warped us. We have got through another extreme heat. We have all of the deaths and dyings from heat stroke, and I just learned about heat exhaustion myself, so trust, I get it. Nonetheless, when you belong in a place, it's easier. And when I feel like I've gotten to a certain spot of belonging with certain people, it's easier to realize that that's the woman that you're becoming. A woman who belongs in a certain spot and not in others. Even if there's a battle between the two. And why is this necessarily, so to speak, a battle between the two when you're trying to get home for Christmas and be home for Christmas? It's because sometimes we can allow places and things and people to get the better of us to the point where there's such a deep longing that it calls for us to straighten up, sharpen our skill, our thought processes, or whatever our niche is. It causes us to niche down to really figure out what needs to get said and who needs to hear it. And so that's a really good part of ultimately how you want to maneuver. So I'm going to read this bit of a piece here. And we're going to go from there. So, Home for Christmas reminded me that who you are becoming often looks like who you used to hide. So, this is so true too, because as a kid, I always say in this romance sense that my first love is also my last love. So, they're one and the same, and everybody else in between never lasted. And that's why we were constantly in this trajectory to each other, to one another. So, there's really no room. It's simply not. And that's a good thing because there's a power in that. And that's another book. I have not put it in this series, but I might try to squeeze it into some of the episodes, especially if I'm shorter too. So keep your eyes open and peeled for that. And so let's explore identity. And of course, a little bit of the nalagasia of what necessarily takes place back in the good old days, the golden years, if you will, the fashion that heals. So, mindset, clearly you already belong. Peep the game, okay? But people will try to play you to make you think otherwise. So, be watching what they do so you can remain clear in who you are and who you're meant to be. Your style prompt is style rooted in memory and meaning. Oh, for sure. Because every time I have a memory to come into my mind, whether it's hanging out with a girl down the street or just walking down there hanging out with Glenn or just anything of that nature, I always realize that there's really a power to recall. And I really appreciate that. So, where's the shift in mindset from reading this particular book? You know, that's really true because what this book awakened in you, a mindset, self-image, belief, was really in true love. Something about this book was really a romance novel, and the young lady was struggling. So she just, I don't know, was extremely unhappy. She was so downtrodden, and you could tell, you really see that she was longing to find her home, a spot that she wasn't constantly wanting to get out of. It was a space that she really felt she belonged there. So there was no need to feel this need to get out of where she was, even though when it first opened, she did. And when she did get out of it, she never did return. And that's kind of how it goes. Once you are with your partner, you're never going to leave them again. It's no desire to. I have yet to ever even think that there is. Ever. And I mean, it's been years at that. So just be mindful. So the mindset shift I want you to think about is, if you ever hear some kind of inkling thought, pay attention to it. If you don't ever hear it, pay attention to that too. And heed both. Okay, if the one comes in and says go. If one comes and it also says it's opposite, stay. That's what you do as well. And it always pays to listen, no matter even what you do. It really does give you an upper hand. It gives you that clarity that you need. And then take that time out for yourself and either just figure out where these other problems are going to go next so you can handle them with a mature spirit. And then, necessarily, so to speak, when you figure out whatever else, choose that as a cultivating spirit too. So that way you can always find your balance. And you know, my daughter, she loves to watch Bubble Guppies. So our brand spaces owner, myself, and Tasia Shirella Moore, is always trying to figure out, can we watch Bubba, Bubba, Bubba? And that's how she says Bubba Guppies, Bubba Guppies, Bubba Guppies, Bubba, Bubba. You know, she sees two. So she's saying a word, and that's her effort. She tries to say, Bubba, Bubba. You know, that's what she does. That's what she's doing. And so I put it on, and she loves it. And they're always are kind of sort of going back and forth about certain kind of sort of ways to keep the things that they are trying to find necessarily, so to speak, in the forefront of what it is that is taking place around them. Because how else are we really going to do it? And when you think about when you have certain people who want to cultivate energy that leads us to a place that brings healing, or we go to an energetic spot and we want to return back again, or we don't want to leave them and we never will. Nothing's wrong with that. Why are you going to want to leave a person who's been nothing but good to you? You're not. You aren't. And then when you really figure out that that's really a great way to kind of sort of choose to spend your life, why not cultivate it? You're going to want to cultivate it. So it's going to back up your thought of why not cultivate. There's no reason not to, because they've only been good to you. So it's best to cultivate that type of behavior. And that's what you get from this field. And this is not just a type of idea here. You see the love, you see the lights, you know that people are really in a true, authentic spirit of feeling like you're the person for what it is that I'm thinking about. I can tell that you're my person. I get those vibes from you. I have been lacking it. I didn't see it anywhere else until I met you. And this is something that I really am unwilling to let go or let lie in other spots. So the mindset shift is definitely going to kind of sort of realize that you can allow yourself to experience love, really, no matter what you've been through. And you can really get traumatized. You can really feel like you just are so over everybody and everything, that nothing is not supposed to have been the way that it was, which is true, mind you. I'm not going to ever discount anybody's feelings, no matter how negative they get or seem and or have appeared to have been, because that's just not appropriate. We all have our thoughts and feelings, and they all are worthy of some type of forefront what you are dealing with. But you always want to make sure that this is that and that's that, and we and put them in their proper places. You have to do those type of efforts. That's kind of like an inner work problem or some kind of mental spot where you can kind of sort of jot down or journal or something in that type of nature. And actually, they journal quite a bit in this particular novel. And this is very a contemporary romance novel as well. So it's not as old school as, say, somebody like a James Allen or Jane Austen novel as well. So that's definitely the mindset shift. And then if I have a tie-in moment with real life where I felt a transformation, the fact that you do have to go through the battles to wind up where you are is definitely where I see that type of energy coming forth in it, because the battles are so intense. Sometimes people just really want you to do that, or sometimes people just give up, and sometimes you just settle. And nonetheless, none of those things are necessarily really what it is that takes place that's a positive. So you always want to just make sure that you are choosing the proper choice. The style connection and how this shows up in your wardrobe or body language or image. To myself, what I'm thinking about, particularly speaking, is just the fact that it gives you that homey vibe, that feeling that you're close to Christ, that feeling that brings with that type of Christmas and December, that type of feeling of having that real live beautiful slice of cake or pumpkin pie, or just having real life moments where you really just get to bask in that glow and that beautiful, like Christmas in July is ending, but you want to kind of carry it throughout the year daily. It really gives you that. It really allows you to experience, like, you can see that we're getting ready to transition out to fall and things like that. But these are just things that I just kind of sort of wanted to see. I didn't know where the batteries were. I wanted to make sure that the batteries were there, because we're getting edgier and edging closer and closer to the shifts in season every day, so quickly, so much so that you get scared that you're actually even going to miss something if you take your time and start going a little too long. And that's not really ultimately what you want to do. So you always want to try your best to give that effort when you can, and find it to carve out those things to create what you want. And then once you do those type of things as your style connection as well, and just really allow yourself to feel connected to those pieces. Because at first it's like you're just going to push it off, but it really can enhance how you think about the way that you carry yourself throughout life. And that's really a great space to find yourself at. A client takeaway that I want you all to have as advice that you can apply from this book through my own coaching lens, of course, is definitely when love comes around second time. Okay, if you didn't pay attention the first time, make sure you do so for the second time around, because you might not get a third. And as they say, the third, and you still, you out, and that's rather, you know what I mean, in love than feeling like, you just out and about dealing with every and anybody. Better out of the crowd dealing with everybody else than in, the crowd dealing with all kind of nonsense, and the person's over there just, passing you right on by. So that's our client takeaway. And then a mini challenge that I want you all to have is, if you have your partner, kiss them today, okay? Or show them, send them some kind of love through your phone, kiss them through your phone. Or, if you are want to see them today, this evening, as soon as they come home through the door, mwah, just do it. No matter how late, how early, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. All that matters is that you all have a loving relationship, that you already care about one another, that they treated you well, and that they really are your people and your person, and you know that they are. So you definitely want to do that, because it's really about having that ability to really feel like somebody's really showing up for you. And you really owe that to these people, because when they really show up and do you really well, why are you not going to be able to really be home for those people? Why are you not going to show up? Why are you not going to be there? Why are you not going to find a way to show up for their beautiful day? Dressed from the head to toe and looking as best as possible. As Wayne say, I hope you smell like lotion and perfume and shampoo and all of the other goodies that entails that I've cared. And so ultimately, that's what you have to do. It can be 1,000 kids crying. It can be 50 million. Nobody's gonna go between you and your love. No matter how many tears they cry, no matter how many times people have tried, because they gonna do these things to put you on with any and everybody else but your love. Nothing matters besides you and your love. Even and that's sad, because you have kids, right? And you like, oh yeah, I can't wait to have kids. And I don't want a whole bunch of kids. I just want us to be totally solid. I just want us to travel and have fun and just be good to one another our entire lives. in that romantic sense, and that's it. The kids and everybody else is beneath you and I. They are beneath us. No matter how many tears, because this, and I mean, that's so sad because it's in all my parenting books. The kids just go so crazy and they think that's doing something. But you and I, there's nothing that tops that. The kids is just an icing on the cake, but they can be manipulative and try all of these little things or whatever else. And people can try to come between you two, make you work like crazy, start hating on your relationship, starting to want to plant everything else that they think that they can, causing more chaos. But at the end of the day, don't none of that matter besides you and him. Ladies, trust me when I say this. All right, so we're gonna go ahead on and go now. So, thank you for joining me on this journey through the books that built me. And if this episode sparked something for you, Suzanne, or reminded you of your own growth, Maria, make sure that you share it, rate it, and keep reading with intention, ladies. For today's intention word, we're going to go ahead and deal with coupleship, okay? So that means you want to always focus on you and yours because that's where the majority of your heart lies, okay? All right, so I'll be back next week with another story, another shift, okay? And another book that builds, that has helped and shaped the young lady that you all see before you today. So with that being said, until next time, stay growing, grounded, and becoming. Bye. Y'all have a good day.